It's somewhere in the ancient world you're sick, and the person who's supposed to heal you is reaching for a drill, a leech, or a fistful of dung. For most of human history, going to the doctor was its own kind of death sentence. Here are 10 treatments that were considered cutting-edge medicine. Trepanation. It's the Stone Age. A person is lying pinned to the ground, fully awake, and someone is scraping a hole through their skull with a sharpened piece of flint. This is trepanation, and it's the oldest surgery we have evidence for, going back at least 7,000 years and showing up on every inhabited continent. The idea is consistent across cultures that never met each other. If someone has headaches, seizures, head injuries, or is acting strange, the problem must be something trapped inside the head. Evil spirits. Bad pressure. So you open a window in the skull and let it out. The method is exactly as bad as it sounds. They use stone tools, then later bronze and iron, to drill, scrape, or cut a circle of bone clean out of the head. No anesthetic worth the name. The patient feels the grinding through their own skull. And here's the detail that genuinely unsettles archaeologists. They survived. We find these skulls by the hundreds, and the bone around the hole has healed and grown smooth, which only happens if the person lived for months or years afterward. Some skulls have multiple holes from multiple separate operations. A Stone Age surgeon drilled into a conscious human head with a rock, and the patient walked away and came back for seconds. Bloodletting. It's any year across 2,000 years of medicine, a patient is feeling weak and feverish, and the doctor's solution is to open a vein and let their blood pour into a bowl. This is bloodletting, and it isn't a fringe idea. It is the mainstream theory of medicine in the West for longer than almost anything else. The belief comes from the idea of the four humors, that the body is balanced between blood, phlegm, and two kinds of bile, and that illness means one of them is out of whack. Got a fever? Too much blood? The fix is obvious. Drain some out. So they do. They cut veins with a blade called a lancet. They attach leeches by the dozen to suck blood directly. They take so much, so often, that fainting was sometimes considered a sign it was working. Think about how backwards this is. You go to the doctor because you're weak and sick, and his treatment is to make you weaker by removing the very thing carrying oxygen through your body. For a serious illness, that's not a cure. That's a push toward the grave. It almost certainly killed far more people than it ever helped, and it stuck around for centuries because when a healthy person survives it, the doctor takes credit, and when a sick person dies, well, they were sick. Crocodile dung contraception. It's ancient Egypt, around 3,500 years ago, and a woman is mixing crocodile droppings with honey into a paste she's about to use as birth control. This is real, written down in one of the oldest medical documents in existence. The Egyptians, who are otherwise weirdly advanced, have worked out that you can try to block or kill the path of pregnancy before it starts. Their chosen ingredient for this is the dung of the Nile crocodile, mashed together with honey and sometimes a paste base, formed into a pessary and inserted before sex. The logic isn't completely insane, even if the material is revolting. A thick paste can act as a physical barrier. The honey is sticky and slightly antibacterial, so in a grim way, they're reaching for the right concept with the worst possible component. The problem is the crocodile dung itself, which is alkaline and would do roughly the opposite of what you'd want for the body's chemistry, and which is, crocodile feces going where crocodile feces should never go. Still, sit with the fact that this counted as advanced family planning. While the rest of the ancient world is mostly guessing and praying, Egyptian physicians are confidently prescribing a honey and reptile waste suppository and writing it down as established medicine. Mercury Elixirs. It's ancient China. An emperor wants to live forever, and his royal alchemists are handing him a cup of shimmering liquid mercury to drink. Mercury is hypnotic to ancient eyes. It's a metal, but it flows like water. It shines, it beads and splits and rejoins like something alive. To Chinese alchemists searching for the secret of immortality, a substance that's strange has to be powerful, so they build it into their elixirs of eternal life, along with other lovely ingredients like arsenic. The emperors drink it. For years, they take mercury pills, mercury wine, mercury tonics, convinced that each dose is buying them more time on Earth. It buys them less. Mercury is a potent neurotoxin. It poisons the brain, the kidneys, the nerves. The very rulers chasing immortality go paranoid, erratic, and physically sick, their minds and bodies corroding from the inside while they keep sipping the cure. The first emperor to unify all of China, Qin Shi Huang, is widely believed to have died this way, killed by the immortality treatments meant to make him a god. That's the cruel loop of it. The most powerful men in the empire, the ones with access to the very best physicians money and power can buy, are precisely the ones who get poisoned to death, because only they can afford to drink poison every single day. Urine therapy. It's first-century Rome. A fashionable citizen is gargling a mouthful of aged urine, and they paid extra because this batch is imported. You read that correctly. Romans use urine as mouthwash and as a tooth whitener, and they're weirdly not wrong about why it works. As urine sits and ages, it breaks down and produces ammonia, and ammonia is a genuine cleaning agent and a bleaching one. So swishing it around your mouth really does scrub your teeth and leave them whiter. The Roman poet Catullus actually mocks a man for his gleaming smile by pointing out it just proves what he's been rinsing with. But it doesn't stop at mouthwash. Urine is industrial grade in Rome. They use it to launder and whiten cloth, soaking togas in vats of the stuff so the fabric comes out bright. The demand is so high that the trade gets taxed, and the Emperor Vespasian famously defends the urine tax by holding up a gold coin and asking whether it smells. And here's the kicker on the dental front. The most prized urine, the premium product, is said to be imported from Portugal because Romans believed the urine from that region was the strongest and best for the job. People paid a premium for foreign pee. Theriac. It's the ancient Mediterranean. A wealthy patient is afraid of being poisoned, and a physician is preparing a single medicine with more than 60 ingredients to protect them from everything. This is Theriac, the ultimate cure-all and the most expensive medicine of the ancient and medieval world. The recipe is a monster. It can contain 60, 70, sometimes more than 100 ingredients all ground together. Cinnamon, opium, various herbs and minerals, and the signature component that makes the whole thing famous: the flesh of vipers. The viper meat is the heart of the theory, and the logic is a kind of ancient homeopathy. Snakes carry deadly venom. So if you grind up a snake and eat it, surely your body absorbs some protection against venom and poison in general. Fight the snake by becoming a little bit snake. The opium in it, at least, actually did something, since it dulled pain and made people feel better, which helped sell the legend that the whole concoction worked. For centuries, Theriac is prescribed for plague, poison, snakebite, fever, basically any ailment you can name. Kings stockpile it. Cities produce it in public ceremonies. And the entire towering reputation of the most prestigious drug in history rests on the idea that the cure for snake venom is a mouthful of minced snake. Cataract couching. It's ancient India. A patient is sitting upright and wide awake, and a surgeon is pushing a needle into their open eyeball. The patient is going blind from cataracts, the clouding of the lens that turns the world into fog. The ancient fix, practiced for thousands of years across India, the Middle East, and beyond, is a procedure called couching, and it is not for the squeamish. The surgeon takes a sharp needle or a small lancet and inserts it directly into the eye, right at the edge of the cloudy lens. Then, with the tip of the instrument inside the eyeball, he pushes the lens. He shoves it off its position and presses it down and back, out of the center of vision, so it sinks into the lower part of the eye and stops blocking the light. And sometimes it works. The patient, who saw only milky fog, suddenly sees shapes and light again because the obstruction has literally been pushed out of the way. But there's no real focus anymore. The infection risk is enormous, and plenty of patients end up worse, in pain, or fully blind. Still, imagine the nerve it takes on both sides. You sit perfectly still while a man slides a needle into your eye, because the alternative is a lifetime of darkness. Gladiator Blood. It's the Roman Colosseum. A gladiator has just been struck down on the sand, and a spectator climbs down to drink the blood pouring from his body. This is not a metaphor. Romans genuinely believed that the fresh, hot blood of a dying gladiator can cure epilepsy. The thinking is that the strength and vitality of a young fighter cut down in his prime passes into whoever consumes his blood while it's still warm, and that this raw life force can drive out the falling sickness. So at the games, people with epilepsy or families desperate to help them gather near the kills. Some drink the blood directly from the wounds of the dying. Others pay for it to be collected. When the practice is eventually pushed out of the arena, sufferers turn to drinking the blood of executed criminals instead, chasing the same supposed cure. Roman medical writers record all of this plainly, some endorsing it, a few expressing disgust. Let this one land without a joke. A young man is killed for entertainment in front of a roaring crowd, and before his body is even cold, the sick are drinking him in the hope of stealing whatever made him strong. The horror isn't just the superstition, it's how casually a dying human being became a medicine to be consumed. Electric ray therapy. It's first-century Rome. A man is suffering from blinding headaches, and his doctor's prescription is to press a living electric ray against his skull. The fish is the torpedo ray, and it can deliver a real electric shock, strong enough to numb a hand or knock a person back. Roman physicians, including the respected doctor Scribonius Largus, notice this and decide the jolt has healing power. So they turn it into a treatment. For a pounding headache, you take a live torpedo ray and hold it directly against the patient's head, letting it discharge its shock into the skull until the area goes numb. For gout, that searing pain in the foot, you have the sufferer stand on a live ray at the water's edge and take the electricity straight up through the foot and leg. The strange part is that it sort of works, in the way a numbing agent works. The electric shock genuinely deadens the nerves and dulls the pain for a while, so patients walked away convinced. This makes Roman medicine the unlikely ancestor of electrotherapy. Their solution to your migraine was to electrocute you with a fish, and the truly maddening thing is they weren't entirely wrong to try. Mouse and dung remedies. It's ancient Egypt, a child is crying with a brutal toothache, and the remedy a healer reaches for is a whole dead mouse, mashed into paste and packed against the gums. The Egyptians are famous for their medical knowledge, but a lot of that knowledge is this. For a bad toothache, especially in children, they would kill a mouse, grind it up, and apply the paste directly into the mouth or onto the aching tooth. In some cases, the mouse is split and laid against the gum whole. And the mouse, honestly, is the harmless part. The genuinely dangerous habit is what they do with wounds. Egyptian medicine regularly calls for packing injuries with animal dung, the droppings of various animals smeared directly into open cuts and sores, as a treatment. The thinking is that the dung holds some healing or protective property. It holds the opposite. Animal feces is loaded with bacteria, including the spores that cause tetanus, that slow, agonizing locking of the muscles toward death. So a person survives the wound itself, then gets killed by the cure packed into it. That's the dark irony to end on. Of all the revolting things ancient doctors put in and on the human body, the dead mouse in the mouth was survivable. It was the medicine that looked sensible, the dung in the wound that quietly did the killing.